Well, another overtime game. Oh my God. The Cleveland Cavaliers. How did that happen? How was that even possible? The Cavs surrender a huge lead in the fourth quarter. It was a 44-11 run to close it out. The biggest Knicks comeback in franchise history. 115-104, the final score. Happy to see you all here. We got a lot to talk about. On this one. If you haven't done so yet, please hit the subscribe button here. But I'll say this. We know what happened. We know exactly what happened to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Talked about it earlier today with Donnie. We know exactly what happened. Danhausen happened. This is why the Cavs lost. Right here.
Credit for the Knicks. That sounds wonderful. I do have a special mission I've been sent on, and that is for the Cleveland Cavaliers tonight. Let them know that they are cursed.
Oh, man.
Why?
Sorry,
Because we're here. We're New York City, the world's greatest city in all of the world.
Not only were they cursed, Danhausen was in the building. There it is. The Danhausen curse. Well, how else can you explain what happened? How else can you explain what just happened in this game? That had to be some kind of a curse. The score was 93-71 in the fourth quarter. Cavs, 93-71. They lose 115-104. Get blown out 14-3 in overtime. And you could say, well, it's they were coming off of a game 7. The Cavs got to be tired, all that kind of stuff, right? That's what they got to be saying. They're tired. They ran out of gas. I think they just might have gotten ran out of the series. I don't want to overreact. You know what? Actually, I do. I am going to overreact to game 1 because the Cavs have to win at least one road game because math, right? The Knicks have home court advantage. You had to win one road game. What better opportunity are you going to get? What better opportunity are you going to get than a 93-71 lead in the damn fourth quarter? What better opportunity are you going to get? This was it. This was your chance. And you choke. And my God, Kenny Atkinson, how long are we going to let James Harden get picked apart, play after play after play after play? The Knicks' entire offense was attack James Harden. That's why I've got James Harden on the thumbnail for this video. It's James Harden in a Knicks jersey. They just put him in pick and roll and went right at him. And James Harden couldn't move. James Harden could not move. When he got put in those pick and roll situations, his range of motion, if you watched him on any given possession, he would move inside of like a 10-foot circle. And that was about it. That was all he would do. How do you not? My God, Dennis Schroeder's not the best player in the world, but he's on your bench. He's on your bench. Like, you've got options. I mean, damn, throw Danhausen in a Cavs jersey. Couldn't have been worse. Put him out there. Put Danhausen out there. Why not at this point? The Knicks offense just went Harden hunting, and the Cavs just let them go. Isn't that the coach's fault? Yeah. You needed to send two. They finally, at the end, started sending two to the ball and trying to force somebody else to beat them. But they allowed James Harden to get picked apart. And then on the offensive end, James Harden wasn't able to do his thing. I mean, I guess maybe he did his thing historically. Fourth quarter, James Harden. 6 points on 1 of 6 shooting. 1 of 6 shooting, 1 turnover, 6 points. 4 of 6 he got his way to the free throw line, but got picked apart. Fourth quarter, Jalen Brunson, 15 points. Gee, I wonder how he did that. 7 of 9 from the field. Who's he scored all those points on? Mostly James Harden. Now, make no mistake, Jalen Brunson's great. He's got the ability to take over games. He can get going, and he absolutely did. But, man, look at the Cavs. We talk about turnovers. Cavs in the 10th percentile when it comes to turnover percentage. Couldn't hang on to the basketball. Points per possession just plummeted. I guarantee you this number was way higher before the middle of the fourth quarter. We're getting to the free throw line. The Knicks didn't play that well. Knicks didn't play that well overall. Cavs generated a bunch of threes. Couldn't knock them down. Couldn't knock them down. Generated threes at a very high rate. Couldn't knock them down. That Merrill shot at the end of the game, I thought that was in. I thought that was in. That looked like that was all the way down in, and then somehow rims out. What an unbelievable finish to this. Again, if you're Kenny Atkinson, you've got to be kicking yourself for not using timeouts, for not trying to stop the run that the Knicks were on, and for not doing something with sub him out, put in a different defensive scheme, do something other than we're going to allow them to ISO James Harden and go after him over and over and over again. Something else. And they didn't do it. Again, maybe they were cursed. And then Jalen Brunson. This is a great point. Jalen Brunson was in foul trouble. He wound up with 5 fouls. How do you not go after him? Why did the Cavs go in the other way? It's not like Jalen Brunson is a great defender and you're like, oh, well, we don't want to go at him because he's probably going to get the stop. No. It's a decent strategy to target Jalen Brunson anyway. He's in foul trouble. Why would you not go at him? Why would you not target him? Go after him on the other end. And they let the Knicks off the hook. Unbelievable. Don't fear the beard. That's exactly what I should have changed the title to. Don't fear the beard. It's going to be real toxic in Cleveland. They can't extend James Harden after what they've seen. As a Lakers fan, I've got Darvin Ham PTSD from Kenny. I mean, how much of it is James Harden? How much of it is the coach need to get him off the floor? Right? I mean, shouldn't the alternative have been, hey, let's put the ball in the hands of the dude who has 29 points on 12 of 23 shooting, and let's just put somebody out on the floor that's not going to get switch hunted? I know it's James Harden, but at some point, you got to do what you got to do in order to win the damn game, right? Right? I mean, hell, if bigs who can't shoot free throws can get taken off the floor because of a hack-a-shack situation, why can't you take a guy whose legs are totally gone off the floor so he can't get exploited defensively? I know it's James Harden. You say, well, but it's James Harden. He's won an MVP award and all that. Sometimes you got to make the difficult decision. Sometimes you got to make that call. And that moment was screaming for it. That moment was screaming for somebody's got to be bigger than James Harden here and say, you got to take a seat. And say, we need you to sit down. Whether you put it, whoever you put in, maybe it's Keon Ellis, maybe it's Dennis Schroeder, whoever, somebody that can move. Harden couldn't move. You got to have somebody else in there that can move. And that's the job of the coach. And so as much as we want to, point and laugh at James Harden, a lot of it has really got to fall on Kenny Atkinson. At least change your defensive schemes up. They didn't do that nearly fast enough. When they finally did, Harden still was struggling because the Knicks they knew. It was blood in the water. The Knicks knew exactly what was going on with James Harden, and they just picked on him over and over and over again. Went right after him. Got to get him off the floor. And they didn't do it. They didn't do it. And you took the ball out of the hands of Donovan Mitchell. What are we doing? It was right there. Right there. Now, to be fair, Donovan Mitchell was 1 of 4 in the fourth quarter, but James Harden was 1 of 6. 1 of 6. And then in OT, Mitchell wasn't much better. I mean, he was 0 for 3. He got some shots up, but by that point, the damage had been done. By that point, and the Cavs played so well for so much of this game. New York's up 23-16, and then the Cavs dominated. Cavs dominated the second, dominated the third. Went, wow, Cleveland's going to do it. Cleveland's going to do it. They're going to come into New York, MSG, and they're going to win game 1. They're going to get this thing done. And they found a way. Found a way to lose. Unreal. All right, we got other things to talk about here too. I'm going to do something, I think, tomorrow on Jason Kidd getting fired. Yeah, let me send out a little tweet just so everybody knows we're here talking right now. There we go. All right. That's a ham level no timeout call. Yeah. What was that all about? Why would you not take a timeout? Crazy. I mean, again, how much of this do you put on Kenny Atkinson? How much of it do you put on Kenny Atkinson? It's got to be a decent amount. Jake Fisher said LeBron isn't interested in any pay cut. I thought he said he wasn't going to play for a minimum. So I'd be down for a Cleveland trade. I mean, basically the most any team can give him that's not the Lakers that he would realistically play for would be a full mid-level exception. And that's best case scenario in terms of the most money a team could give him. So then you got to talk. Is he willing to play for that? Is he willing to take that from the Lakers? Will he take that from another team? Will they do a sign and trade? We'll see. Harden was in the club all night. Give him a break. I mean, look, again, how much are we going to blame James Harden versus Kenny Atkinson? Some of that's got to go on Atkinson, not the majority of it. What's the coach's job? To decide who's on the floor and decide what schemes you're running. You can't just leave him out there. Either pull him off the floor, run something different. Yeah. If you're the coach, you can't allow that to happen. You're not going to save your timeouts. You can't put them in a back room somewhere and then hang on to them. Go enjoy them during the summer or something. Keep them all polished up on a shelf. No, you can't take them with you. What are we doing? What's not true, Big City? What's not true? Kept Garland, I take 5 years of this over him 1 year. Yeah, look, I was in favor of what the Cavs did with the Garland trade. And it's because of the financial flexibility that it offered them. It's because if you look at the Cavs salaries, if you look at James Harden's deal, I know they're talking about a new long-term deal with him. So if they extend him and it's not a very team-friendly deal, that's going to be a problem. But you look at James Harden, he's got a $42 million player option, and you go, oh man, they got to pay James Harden $42 million. Nope. Only $13.3 million is guaranteed. Now, that means if they waive him, that's all they'll owe him. He would go somewhere else. You'd still have to pay him $13.3 million. But you know what? That's less than the Mavs are paying Jason Kidd, way less. It's like, 30% of what the Mavs are paying Jason Kidd to not coach for them. Wow. $40 million the Mavs are going to pay Jason Kidd to not coach for them. But James Harden, 13.3 million. So the reason why that's actually a good thing for the Cavs is like, yeah, it's not ideal to have to pay somebody $13.3 million to go away. But you can clear a lot of flexibility on your books if the whole James Harden thing just doesn't work at all. That's protection. You're protecting yourselves. You know, in the event of a catastrophic injury or something like that, you're not just on the hook for all that money sitting on your books. You can just say, well, you know what? It's unfortunate that it worked out this way, but at least the pain is only 13.3 million, which in the NBA world is not a ton of money. So you've got the ability. That's part of why I liked the deal for the Cavs. I also think James Harden has been a bit healthier, certainly, than Darius Garland. And there have been moments where he's fit very well with this Cavs team. And frankly, there have been moments in the playoffs where you've gone, oh, he's not the same old James Harden. He's also had games where he's been, well, like he was tonight. But now the question for the Cavs is going to be, if it continues this way for the rest of the series, and it may not, maybe he bounces back in game 2. But if it continues this way, then the question becomes, how much are you willing to give him on his next contract? Clearly, he wants to lock up more years. He's 37 years old. He's going to want more years added to his deal. Maybe at less money, but can you get him? Could you do 2 years, 60? Would he be open to doing that? Could you get James Harden at that number? Maybe that's more interesting. I don't know. But he's not helping himself the way he played this game tonight. That's for sure. Not helping himself with the way he's playing tonight. I do think there's still a lot of extra flexibility with this Harden contract, but it's really only if they decide, you know what, we're just going to move on. We're just going to move on. It looked like James Harden was intentionally sabotaging the game. I thought that he was just gassed. I thought it was he's not a great defensive player anyway. I thought he was completely out of gas. 90% of the blame's on the coach and 10% on the team for not slapping the coach. That's pretty good. You know what this reminds me of? It's way worse. It's way worse. But it reminds me a little bit of the Lakers game 1 against the Denver Nuggets a few years back when the Lakers went to the West Finals. It reminds me of that, where the Lakers had gone through a couple of, fairly taxing playoff series to get there. And game 1, they emptied the gas tank trying to come back into that game. So it wasn't like they had this huge lead, but they emptied the gas tank trying to get back in the game. And you thought they might do it, and then they weren't able to pull it off and get the win. And it seemed like that was it for them. They just could never quite get going again. The team was just exhausted. I wonder if that's what we're going to see now from the Cavs. I wonder if that's where the Cavs are going to go. They looked like a team that was out of gas. They're particularly Harden did, but I wonder if that's now what we see from the Cavs. If now that you drop, like, how do you come back from this game? How do you come back from losing this? That's absolutely brutal. How do you come back from losing that? So I do wonder, does this wind up being the straw that broke the camel's back? Yeah, maybe the simple answer is you don't. Maybe the simple answer is you don't come back from this. That could very well be it. We've had obviously some great playoff basketball here. And what an amazing... If you were a Knicks fan and you spent the kind of money you needed to spend to get into this game, how happy are you right now? Because, man, for a little while there, that's always the thing I always look at. If you were going to go spend, we're talking big money just to get in the building for this game. What happens if your team just no-shows? Like, obviously, you hope it doesn't happen, but think about all the Phoenix fans a few years back when they played the Mavs in Game 7 in Phoenix. Think about all the Suns fans that shelled out big money, and then their team completely no-showed. How bad does that hurt? And if you were a Knicks fan in the third quarter, you were starting to think, uh-oh, did I just pay to see us lose? And instead, you wind up being part of this amazing comeback, a game you'll remember forever. It's always the risk that you take with some of those games. What, 3 for 10 from 3? Cavs were in the fourth. Cavs lost the game. They aren't losing the series. I'm really wondering, how do you come back from this, though? I don't know how you come back from this. I had the Knicks win it. I had Knicks. My official prediction was Knicks in 6. Because I think this is going to be really tough to come back from. All right. This is the second time a minor celebrity has cursed James Harden in the playoffs. Base God's curse resulted in him breaking the turnover record for the Rockets. I mean, don't mess with Danhausen. The Miz will tell you that. Don't mess with Danhausen. What if you, oh man, what if you left early? That would be the worst. That would be the worst feeling. Whatever. Apparently, cursing the Cavs does work. Apparently, it works. Cavs are done. This is their only chance. Well, again, they have to win a game on the road. I don't think it's crazy to think this was their best chance to do it. This was your best shot. And you didn't pull it off. You didn't do it. God, I love NBA basketball. What an amazing couple of nights, though. Fun games, close games, overtime games, double OT games last night. Obviously, this game was nowhere near the same level as San Antonio and OKC. And that's why, if you're the Knicks, if you're the Cavs, you're looking across the way, and you're still, that's why there's 28 teams saying we're not on the same level. This game was clearly not that. Still was entertaining as hell. And you give the Knicks credit for staying in this thing and fighting, even when it looked like all was lost, making that big run, hitting those big shots. It looked like down the stretch, the Cavs, when the moment, talked about it last night, how Wemby, when the big moment was there, Wemby was like, I mean, he looked like he's 28-year-old, 29-year-old, grizzled veteran at that point. He's been in these moments, knew exactly where to get to his spots. No big deal. I've been, look, the lights are bright. I don't care. I've been doing this. I've been doing this for years. And I'm just going to knock down these shots. That was the whole Spurs team. That was Wemby, but that was really the whole Spurs team last night, with the exception of a few moments here and there. It was impressive. The Cavs, ooh, they got tight real quick, didn't they? The Knicks started coming back. The building started rocking. The Cavs, you could see a little bit of fear there from Cleveland. You could see a little bit of fear there. I do think that Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, they give them a bit of an edge in the paint. But I think mentally, this is going to be really tough to bounce back from for Cleveland. Really tough. Let's be honest, the Spurs series should be for the championship. The whole East-West thing messes that up. Yeah. I mean, look, I've been saying it for a long time. And people just say, well, it's West Coast bias. Conferences should go away for the playoffs. It should be your top, if you want to be just playoff teams, it should be your best 16 teams. Or if you want to include the play-in, your best 20 teams should make it. It should not be, with travel the way it is now, it should not be your 8 best teams per conference. Hey, we're below 500, but we fell backwards into the playoffs because we happen to be in a shitty conference. Like for decades, it's been that way. This year was actually about as close as we've seen in a long, long time. And Eastern Conference clubs will not vote to give up that advantage. They won't. And if it ever flips and the East is stronger, then the West clubs won't vote. But is the East going to be stronger anytime soon? Cooper Flagg's in the West, Wemby's in the West? No. But if you're the NBA Big picture, you want the best product on the floor, right? That's what you want. You want your best teams playing. The way to do that is to not seed by conference for the playoffs. Straight up, who are the best teams? That's it. If they're all on the West Coast, they're all on the West Coast. If they're all on the East Coast, they're all on the East Coast. Now, I know logistically that creates problems with TV times, and maybe we could talk about rivalries. Like, what if you get Lakers Celtics in round one? Something like that happens, right? But there's not a whole lot of other examples like that. And in general, I think you want your best team. So in this scenario, right now, we're looking at an NBA where OKC and San Antonio are well ahead of everybody else. Wouldn't it be nice if instead of OKC and San Antonio being in the same conference, instead it's OKC and San Antonio are the 1 and 2 seed for the entire league? And then they're meeting in the NBA finals. That way the West finals are not really the NBA finals. Wouldn't that be nice? But that's not the way the NBA does it. And I understand why historically they've done it this way. And you want to create regional rivalries and all of that. But I still think things should be seeded just based on the best teams, not the best team that happens to be, or a team that happens to be in a conference that's weaker. Knicks in 4. I'm not going to say Knicks in 4. I still think the Cavs get game 3. I think the Knicks get game 2. I think the Cavs get game 3. And that'll be kind of the last gasp. And then now, if I had to switch it, now I'd maybe go Knicks in 5. Although I was Knicks in 6 to start the series. Not the Cavs' fault. They were cursed. They got to go pay him. Yeah, they got to pay Danhausen the human monies. If they can do that. Maybe that'll lift the curse. This is 100% Western Conference bias. I'm just saying, I want the best teams in the playoffs. Whether they're in the West or the East, I don't care. I just want the best teams in the playoffs. And it's not as big of an issue this year overall. But wouldn't it be nice right now if instead of Cavs-Knicks on one side and Spurs-Thunder on the other side, if it were OKC against Cleveland and Knicks against Spurs right now? And then you knew, hey, we're going to get the heavyweight fight in the finals. Wouldn't that be nice? Not using a timeout when the Knicks are on an 18-1 run, that's inexcusable. Yeah, like what? Did Kenny Atkinson just freeze? Was the moment too big for him? Was the moment too bright for Kenny Atkinson? The light's too bright. Cavs might lose this series if they don't win game 2. This was their best shot on the road. It's a must-win for Cavs in game 2. I mean, can they win game 2? Can they bounce back from that? They've got a day to recover. Game 2 is Thursday, day after tomorrow. They have 48 hours to figure it out. The Knicks are a 6.5-point favorite right now. 6.5-point favorite going into game 2. I don't think if their legs are gassed, and James Harden definitely looked tired, I don't know if that's going to be solved day after tomorrow. This is where they needed like 2 days off, 3 days off between games. They didn't get that. I know a lot of people are going to look at Jalen, but it was big 3-pointers by Landry Shamet and Mikal Bridges and OG rebounds. Yep. Everybody chipped in, but as you could see the energy because the Knicks, they could sense it. They could sense that the Cavs were wavering and they could sense that the Cavs were slowing down. And then every Cavs miss just fueled the Knicks that much more. And the excitement in the building, you could just feel every bucket scored, every stop. The excitement ramps up and up and up and up. And that's just carrying this Knicks team through. It's part of the reason why teams want home court. So you can carry that wave of energy from the crowd. And they did a great job with that. But yeah, it was everybody making plays. Everybody was making plays. But you could feel it. You could feel it. Watching that game, you could feel that the Cavs were letting it slip away, that it was going to happen. You gotta love AI. Danhausen and Stephen A. Smith cursed the Cavs. Threes in the corner got him back. Yep. I mean, you look at the Knicks' ability to shoot from three in the corner. Corner three, the Knicks, 84th percentile on the night. Some big-time buckets there. Got to call timeouts to stop the bleeding. It was egregious. It was egregious. All right. I think maybe I'll start. Well, let's talk a little bit about Jason Kidd here. I've got some stuff I want to get into with that. Probably tomorrow. I'll put out a video on that, as well as other stuff. But let's talk Jason Kidd. Bit of a surprise. I guess you could see it coming in a way because look, Masai was not completely complimentary of Jason Kidd as introductory presser. Didn't sound like, hey, this is for sure. He's going to stay, that sort of thing. And then you think about the Billy Donovan situation where Billy Donovan basically looked at what was going on and said, you know what? I don't want to be in the spot that Jason Kidd is now in. Now, I don't recall at the time if the Mavs had brought in Masai or not, but Billy Donovan was looking at the situation and said, look, this is exactly why Billy Donovan made the choice he did with the Bulls. So they're bringing in a new lead decision maker, whatever the title you want it to be, it doesn't matter, but a new lead decision maker. They're bringing into Chicago. Billy Donovan looked at the situation and went, yeah, I know you guys want me to stay, but this is a bad spot for a coach to be in because typically a new lead decision maker comes in, they want to bring in their own guys. They want to bring in their own coach, right? That's the way that goes. And so even if everybody right now is all on board with me, I know I'm not the guy that was hired by the new lead decision maker. So the first time there's any sign of trouble, I'm on the hot seat. So let's just save ourselves the trouble. I'll leave now. Your new guy can bring in whoever he wants. And I'll move on and I'll go look for something else. And I'll go see what I can find. Maybe I take a year off. Maybe I go take another job. Maybe the Magic job opens up. I go back to Florida. Maybe something like that happens. That's a Billy Donovan. And give him credit. He had the foresight to say, I know, great to be wanted. I know you guys want me to stay, but I know how this story ends. I know the way this goes. I'm going to get ahead of this thing and I'm going to go now before I get blamed for stuff later because that's coming. That's coming. Well, now, here's what happens with Jason Kidd. Doesn't even make it into the season. Masai Ujiri comes in, and this is a real thing. Lead decision makers wanting their own guy to the point where the Dallas Mavericks are now agreeing to pay Jason Kidd $40 million to not coach for them. And keep in mind, they still have to have a coach. They still have to have a coach. So they're going to have to go hire somebody else. And let's say they pay that guy $40 million. Okay, now you're paying $80 million for your coach to get one coach. You're going to pay $20 million a year. Let's say that whoever comes in gets the same contract as Jason Kidd. You're going to pay $20 million a year at your coaching spot. What is this, Milwaukee, where you're going to fire multiple guys on the books? Does Kidd get to keep his $40 million? Yep. Now, sometimes in coaching contracts, maybe the last year won't be guaranteed or something. Here's the way it could get dropped down a little bit if you're the Mavs. If Jason Kidd goes and gets another job. If Jason Kidd goes and gets another job, some of his salary with the Mavs could be offset. But Jason Kidd could also say, you know what? I coached for this team. I got $40 million still coming. I had a long NBA career. I'm good. I'm going to go sit on a beach for the next 4 years, and I'm going to get paid $40 million to do that. Monty Williams, right? I'm going to get paid, God, however much he got. He lasted a year. They just extended Jason Kidd. They just extended him last summer to keep him away from the New York Knicks. They said, no, Jason Kidd is our guy. Last summer. Now Masai Ujiri comes in. And by the way, the Mavs are, if you haven't noticed, they're basically getting rid of everybody who was connected to the Luka situation. Now the Mavs have said a year later, we're going to pay Jason Kidd to not coach for us. A year ago was you're our guy to the point where we're going to give you this big contract extension and we do not want the New York Knicks taking you. No way, no how. 1 year later, that decision has completely flipped and they're paying him to not coach for them. That's some real conviction that Jason Kidd's not the guy anymore. They have completely changed their opinion. And think about ownership. Think about Patrick Dumont. He has to sign off on that. He has to sign off on, yep, let's do that. Let's pay somebody $40 million to do nothing for us. Let's do that. That is the smart thing to do here. And it tells you how much power Masai Ujiri has. If Masai Ujiri is able to come in and say, I want my own guy, and I want you to come out of pocket $40 million so that I can go pay another guy. You have to pay the other guy too. So I want you to pay this guy $40 million to go away. And then I'm going to go hire somebody else you're going to have to pay. Cool? And they signed off on it. And that's not unique. There's other teams who do this too. But that's real conviction. And you can look at this as, well, isn't that a good thing for the Mavs? That clearly ownership is willing to spend. It may be painful, it may hurt, but they're willing to spend for what they think is right. It may be. It also tells you how much faith they've got in Masai Ujiri and his decision-making. That, hey, we need the guy that Masai Ujiri wants. Maybe Jason Kidd and Masai don't see eye to eye on how the team was supposed to be run moving forward. But I also love that the press report was they have mutually parted ways. That was the initial conversation, the initial reporting. They didn't mutually part ways. It's like, oh, it was a mutual breakup. No, it wasn't. Never is. It's a mutual thing. No, it was not. That's the new phrase that's used all the time. They mutually parted ways. Right? He got fired. Jason Kidd got fired. And it's not even bad. If I'm Jason Kidd, I'm like, I get paid $40 million and I don't have to do anything. Great. A lot of coaches in this situation just say, you know what? I'm going to take a year. I'm going to take 2 years. And you know what they do? They go visit. They go visit other teams. They just, I mean, seriously, like they go to their practice. They just call them up and say, hey, I really just want to sit in on your practice session. And the network is what it is. So they'll get to go sit in and check out what other teams are doing, try to learn some strategies, stuff like that. Take some time off, enjoy some time with the family, and get paid to not have to do anything. It's not even the worst thing in the world for Jason Kidd. Ujiri cleans house of those connected to Luka trade. Only person that remains is the owner. Does Kyrie even stay with the Mavs? Rumor has it Anthony Edwards wants to play with Kyrie. Yeah, I mean, if you've got a new lead decision. So for years now, the word has been, well, the Mavs love Kyrie. They want Kyrie to be part of their future. Is that still true? Is anything still true? Because everything just changed in terms of Dallas's decision-making and their thinking on everybody. Masai Ujiri didn't trade for Kyrie. Masai didn't bring him in. He didn't pay him on his last contract. There's no commitment there. Masai might have a completely different vision for the team than the previous regime. So sure. Now that doesn't mean that he wants to move. Maybe he sees Kyrie and he says, I'm glad you have Kyrie. This is exactly what I wanted. I wanted to have a team with Kyrie Irving on it, and I'm so happy he's here and he's not going anywhere. Maybe that's how he thinks. But all we know is he's somebody different that's making the decisions than the people who were making decisions before. Than Nico, than Michael Finley. And I mean, now you've got somebody coming in that's going to present a different way of thinking. And that may mean that somebody that the previous regime liked is not held in the same regard anymore. So everything we thought we knew about what the Mavs are going to do, now you have to reopen those conversations. Hey, we know the other guys didn't want to trade Kyrie. Masai, how do you feel about Kyrie? Do you want him on this team with Cooper Flagg at 34 years old, or do you want to move on? Do you want to try to get a deal done? What do you want to do? How do you feel about PJ Washington? Do you like Klay Thompson? Where are you out on him? Max Christie, Derek Lively. How committed are you to keeping Daniel Gafford? You got to have all these conversations. None of these guys were brought in by Masai Ujiri. And typically, you know what happens when somebody takes over, whether it's at the ownership level or as the lead decision maker? They want to put their stamp on things. That's what they want to do. Right or wrong, somebody comes in, takes ownership. First thing they want to do is change things up and go, see, this is what I did. This is how I'm changing things. This person, but they were doing it wrong because of this and this. I'm going to fix these things. A lot of times they go and they make big decisions before really getting the lay of the land. Talk about what's happening with the Blazers right now. With their owner firing 20% of their business operations department. All the stuff about him being cheap and everything. He had some interesting comments about that the other day. But a lot of times these guys get in and all they've known is success. All they've known is everything they do is the right way. And there's a lot of ego there and all of that, and rightfully so. They've been very successful. But they get in there and they think, well, I know better than everybody else, and they make changes. Look what the Phoenix Suns did. Second apron, new CBA. No, I don't care about that. Give me Kevin Durant. Give me the biggest names. Kevin Durant, Brad Beal, Devin Booker. We're going to go win anyway. I don't care about the second apron because I'm rich. I've got money. I don't care about any of that. Give me the best players. Now you've got Matt Ishbia, who I think he's come a long way, and he's really figuring things out in Phoenix. And he's figuring out how to play the game. Sometimes it takes, you first get in power, breathe. Let everything sit. Get the lay of the land before you start changing stuff. Let everything settle. Really get a sense of what's what. Now, Masai is not coming into this job. Tom Dunn, right, coming in, owning the Blazers, being from a hockey perspective, which there's a lot of differences, right? There's a difference there. Matt Ishbia coming in, not having owned a professional basketball team before. That's not the same as Masai, who has run NBA teams, now coming in with the Dallas Mavericks. So I'm not saying he shouldn't be changing things dramatically, but it's very typical for these guys when they come into power. What they want to do is they want to put their fingerprints on things, and they want to be able to point to something and say, that was me. I changed that. Sometimes it comes back to bite them. But the Mavs decision-making process is different now. And teams are going to be having those conversations. I do wonder how much of the Mavs will never trade with the Lakers again applies now that it's a different front office. Not that I want to start going down the rabbit hole of like Mavs-Lakers trades, but how much of that does apply to a new front office? Are they more open to doing something like that? If it was Nico Harrison in charge, he's probably got Rob Pelinka's number blocked. Well, he shouldn't now. He shouldn't now. It should be, I mean, when he was still in charge, he probably had Rob Pelinka's number blocked. Right now, he's probably got a long text thread with Rob Pelinka. I would imagine he's probably staying in Rob's guest house. Can't be in Dallas. Go to LA and never pay for a drink again. Anyway, Jason Kidd out in Dallas. There's already, I saw Mark Stein threw it out there. And again, I'll talk a little more about it tomorrow. I'm probably going to do like a Mavs fan crash out video tomorrow about the Jason Kidd thing. But it's interesting. Mark Stein already throwing it out there. Hey, last time they were looking for a coach, the Magic had interest in Jason Kidd. And it just so happens that the Magic job is open right now. So if Jason Kidd says, does a Jamal Mosley, ironically, who's with Orlando, now he's with the Pelicans. If Jason Kidd says, nah, I don't want to get paid $10 million to go sit on a beach. I want to keep working. I want to coach. He could immediately get involved in the Orlando Magic coaching search. Maybe something happens there. Mark Cuban's on fire right now. That's dumb. You never say you'll never trade with another team. I mean, sure, but like, for example, would the Clippers ever trade with the Lakers? Yes, only if they know they're fleecing the Lakers, like the Zubac situation. Otherwise, they won't. That's just reality, right? If the Lakers called the Mavs and said, yo, we'll give you Luka back for PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford, and Klay Thompson, I'm sure the Mavs would be more than happy to trade with the Lakers, right? But in any kind of serious, hey, we're going to sit down and negotiate, the Mavs would have to consider public opinion. How would it look if suddenly you're trading with the Lakers again? Unless it was beat you over the head, obvious that the Mavs were getting the better of the deal, Mavs fans would lose their minds. Can you imagine? Imagine if, like, right now, the Mavs traded, I don't know, Derek Lively to the Lakers for Dalton Connect and the 25th pick. Imagine if that went down. Mavs fans would lose their minds, wouldn't they? That's what I'm saying. I'm curious what happens with like Frank Vogel, Phil Handy, a lot of former Lakers coaches that were in Dallas too. Trade the 25th pick for Max. I wanted to say that. I would do that in a heartbeat, by the way. I would do that for sure. Portland still isn't traded with the Lakers. Yeah, I mean, they did waive DeAndre Ayton, knowing he was probably likely to go to the Lakers. But yeah, they didn't trade with him. It's a thing. Is Derek Lively the new Mitch Robinson? What, in terms of injuries? I don't know. I hope Lively can get healthy. I hope he can. All right. What did the Lakers do to Portland? There's a lot of teams that hate the Lakers and don't want to trade with them. The Suns, even though the Suns have a few times now, the Suns, the Nuggets. It's why, like, I think if the Lakers try for Peyton Watson, the Nuggets will be more likely to put up a fight than if somebody else does. Or do they try to get Peyton Watson? I know if the Nuggets try to dump Cam Johnson, it's not that likely that they'll play ball with the Lakers there. Though the Lakers are one of the few teams that just has pure cap space they can send back, so maybe they have to. That's interesting. But the Nuggets, the Spurs, basically all the West teams, and the Celtics. Although the Celtics and the Lakers did trade way back when. In fact, I got married on the day the last time the Lakers and Celtics made a trade. I remember hanging out with my groomsmen and getting the word. I think I had to use my BlackBerry to look it up on ESPN.com that the Lakers had made a trade with the Celtics. And wasn't that like Chris Mim? It was a Gary Payton, Rick Fox trade. That should have been the omen that was not going to work out for me. The Lakers and Celtics made a trade that day. That should have been, I should have just called it off right then and there. I should have known right then, that moment, this is never going to work under this bad omen. That was completely cursed. I should have known in that moment. And just said, nope, this is a sign. This is a sign. This is a sign from the basketball gods. Do not do this. Did I postpone to do a Lakers Nation video? No, YouTube didn't even exist back then. That's how long ago it was that the Lakers and Celtics last traded with each other. YouTube didn't exist. All right. With that said, appreciate everybody for joining. I'm not going to do an hour and a half here like I did last night. Another crazy overtime game. Was a lot of fun. Donnie and I will talk a bit more about the Jason Kidd situation. We'll look at some Mavs fans crashing out over it. And we'll talk about some of the other things happening around the league. We'll hit that up tomorrow. That'll be on the channel. But if you haven't done so yet, please make sure you hit the subscribe button. Oh, Joel coming in here with a super chat at the buzzer. Said, I feel bad for coaching candidate for the Blazers head coaching job, knowing the new owner idea is not paying a coach a near max salary. Blazers just laid off 70 people. The job risk with the new owner. Yeah, so the other thing with that is when you look at if you're a coach coming in, like on one hand, Dundon has this great track record of success in the NHL. And so you got to hope if you're a Blazers fan, he's just restructuring things in a way that actually works better. And it's not he's cheap and going to come in and mess everything up. But the reporting about him not being willing to pay a coach, him not wanting to bring along two-way guys to their games and all the different things that we've heard over the last few weeks. And he said, well, I come from a hockey background. We just do things differently in hockey, that type of thing. I get it. But yeah, you got to be a little concerned. If you're a new head coach coming in, why didn't Thiago Splitter get the job? What are the expectations for this team moving forward? Is Drew Holiday going to be part of next season or not? Are we going to try to move on from him? And are the rumors about not wanting to pay coaches true? Because if so, you could put yourself in a very difficult situation. And if you are high up, if you're a guy who's considered to be like next in line for a head coaching job, you may say, I'm going to catch the next one. I'll pass on this one, but I'll catch the next one. And again, Dundon could be proven totally right. Maybe he restructures things. He makes everything leaner, cleaner, and it winds up operating with better efficiency. And that's got to be the hope from Blazers fans. Right now, though, it's not look great. What's the lore there? What lore? Good luck getting any free agents in an already free agent stricken location in Portland. I'll tell you what, Portland is weird. It's a weird place. They're happy to be weird. It's also a beautiful state. Some incredible stuff. Yeah, there in Oregon. Talking about a bad omen. Oh, yeah. I mean, if the Lakers and Celtics, two teams that one of the greatest rivalries, certainly in sports, period. Those two teams are trading with each other. That should be like that. That's like a hell is frozen over situation, right? That should have been my sign. That's the point. All right, everybody. On that note, appreciate all of you. If you haven't done so yet, please hit the subscribe button right here on the Basketball Bulletin. Fear the beard? Don't fear the beard. Kenny Atkinson right now, wiping away his tears with the timeouts that he's had stuffed in his pockets. Thank you again, everybody. Appreciate all of you. Till next time. See ya and stay safe.